Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Mr. Tokhazani OkaMbalane, Dr. Ishani Naskar, Mr. Samu Pacho, Mr. Janardan Ghosh, Mr. Kiran Singh, Mr. Sipiwam Chunu, distinguished guests, online viewers, namaskar and welcome to the second day of the Heritage Festival or Virasat Parva, with today the theme being Heritage of Dialogue and Cooperation. Indeed, to commence our program, I would like to welcome and invite our first guest speaker, Mr. Tokhazani OkaMbalane, a TV and a radio personality based in South Africa.
Mabandla kamjokwane kandaba zolomnyama ondlela zimhlophe nina benkeshezana kamenzi bakithi ithole likaMbalane selithela ngena lagolokutela lavela lafinyela kuhle kwekhanda lofudu. Ngingena ke nje nami bakithi ke ngizothatha ezami ihlangu ngiyibhule kabili kathathu kuleli shashalazi uma kuthiwa ke nami ake ngishiye ke uvo lwami ikakhulukazi ke ngokubaluleka ikakhulukazi ke kokuxhumana ukubonisana kanjalo ke nokubambisana ikakhulukazi ke ekuqikeleleni ukubuyisa ubumbano kwezokugcinwa ke kwamagugu ikakhulukazi phakathi kwelasemzansi Afrika kanjalo ke nelasendiya. Taking this opportunity to talk about this important initiative, to me it means a lot, and it means that we are at the time where we are about to realize the importance of communication between different cultures. Heritage in dialogue and cooperation, it's something that designed to reunite people, to reunite humanity, and also to bring back the element of Ubuntu. Umuntu, umuntu ngabantu. It's not easy for each and every human being to become a public figure without the contribution of the people surrounding you, starting from a family, relatives, colleagues, and the community at large. There are people that are playing a tremendous role in building you up to become who you are or to become what you want to be. Taking time to make a round chair or a cycle, sitting down, discussing the importance of heritage, how we can make heritage, putting people together to become one voice, one nation. That is the very good step. And I think what we need to do, we need to identify similarities between these two cultures. What is it that we think we perform the same? Or what is it that we think we can make to give us one understanding so that we become one body? I think even our ancestors, even though now they are not living in blood and flesh, but they are living in spirituality. But this communication between us as living souls, it means that they are the ones that are able to convey a message for us to God. And that simply means that sitting down, discussing these two different cultures, it will help us to bring back Ubuntu between these two groups, which is the Zulu cultural group and the Indian cultural group. We are one of those important cultures, I can say, amongst everyone or in a global family at large. Indian culture is being respected, Zulu culture is being respected, then if these two different cultures can come together and try to establish probably a kind of maybe certain collaboration, like maybe we've got our very unique cultural ceremonies, cultural dances, and all that stuff. Maybe just once a year. And not even once a year, because this is not something that to be done just once a year, because it's something that needs to be done repeatedly to bring our cultural dances together, to celebrate our humanity, probably just 3 or 4 times a year, quarterly. I think that is one of the things that can put us together and make us understand our common humanity. Because we are people that have the very powerful respect. We know how to make things happen. Then we need to sit down and discuss which part of our cultures that can come together and make us become one nation. Now, looking at the childhood stage, it takes a village to raise a child. Simple means our cooperation in raising this heritage collaborative dialogue and cooperation. It needs both of us to come together, put our hands together, make sure that we share one eye, we share one understanding, we share one vision about our heritage. On how do we think we need to raise this kind of heritage between South Africa and India. Cooperation is about where maybe we need to look deep at our roots, both of us. Maybe to identify people that will represent us in our different cultural ceremonies, especially in this month of September. Having guests from Indian culture to come and experience what is it that are we doing when we say we are celebrating Heritage Day. Having guests from South Africa to India to experience what is it that are they doing when it comes to celebrate their culture and heritage. Then from there, we take these two, I don't know how I can put this, because I want to put it in a way that you can understand. I don't want to use the theatrical terminology. All right. As I am the theater practitioner, I can see this thing playing in my mind. All right. We need maybe to group some of our cultural dances together to build one sequence that will speak our heritage. That is what I have in my mind about putting dialogue in cooperation to improve the communication in our cultures and heritage, to make it become one body, one language, and make us become one nation. I think if we can look at that, then it will be easy for us to understand what kind of people we are, where are we coming from, where we are now, and where we want to go, and what we want to reach, what is our goal, and where is our destiny. then together we will make it happen. Yilokho nina bendle mnyama engicabanga ukuthi emgodlagodleni wami benginakho. Ngivumeleni bakithi nina bembube, ngivumeleni nina bakaguqabadele, ngivumeleni nina belanga nenyanga nezinkanyezi. Ngicinga ubonda ngehle ngobonda ngiyophuma ngentuba. Bese ngithi ngoba vele ziqhame ziqhamile bakithi seyiqhamela intaba, iyawuphosa kanye, iphose kabili, iyawuthi mayiphosa kwesithathu noma kanjani isiyobanjwa eshone nayo. Ngiyabonga. Mabandla kamjokwane kandaba zolomnyama ondlela zimhlophe nina benkeshezana kamenzi nginibingelele ithole likambalane ngena lakho lokudela lifela liyafinyela kuhlobo ekhanda lofudu nansi inkondlo enginiphathele yona. Isiko lami yigugu lami. Mina bengingemZulu bengingaba yini? Angithi abadala bayiqambile indlela, basinikile uhambo ebesingalwazi ngoba besesesibelethweni komame. Kepha-ke ngoba kuthiwa indlela ibuzwa ngoba phambili, sifikile nathi kulomhlaba saqala savula amehlo sabona. Kepha-ke sithe masesibona base besibekela ukuthi cha, indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili. Angithi inzululwazi kanye nezingqalabutho zisinikezile umlando wokuthi usiko lwami yigugu lami. Mina ngingumZulu, umZulu obonakala ngenhlonipho, umZulu ubonakala ngokuzithoba. Uyazi ukuthi sawubona nje kumuntu uhlangana naye endleleni ungamazi, lokho-ke kuwuphawu lokuba ngumZulu. Angani lokho kusahambisana negugu lami, yikho ngithi isiko lami yigugu lami. Inyanga kaMandulo, inyanga esikhumbuza emandulo ngoba emandulo kusadliwa ngoludala thina sasingekho, babengekho sasingekho kodwa bona emlandweni basekhona. Babengekho sasingekho kodwa bona emlandweni basekhona. Obabamkhulu ngalomlando abawuncele ebeleni nabo kokhokho bethu bawuthatha bawushiya kubona. Kanjalo nabo bewuchungechunge kuhle komfulu ugeleza phakathi kwamawa. Nathi sesiwuncelile lo mlando sawuthatha sawubeka kwezethu zisu. Sizowuthatha lo mlando nathi siwuthathe siwuphalazele kwabezayo. Lo mlando ungowethu, usiko lungolwethu. Isiko lami igugu lami. Inhlonipho akube yiyona ehamba phambili ukukhombisa isiko lami. Ngivumeleni ngehle ngobonda ngiyophuma ngentuba ngisho ngithi kuphinaphi lapho esikhona inhlanga zonke ayibuyi Afrika, sisonke sihlangene. Inhlonipho ayisithathe sibeke. Usiko lwethu igugu lethu. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you so much, Tokhazani ji, for those inspiring remarks today on day 2 of the Heritage Festival. Joining us live from India is Dr. Ishani Naskar. Ma'am is a professor of the Department of International Relations at the Jadavapur University in Kolkata, India. Namaskar and welcome, ma'am, for your remarks today on the second day of the Heritage Festival, with the theme being dialogue and cooperation.
Namaskar and good evening. And I feel honored to be a part of the ICSR organized Hirasat Parva today. India's approach to the global community has been conditioned by her understanding of the world order as it is. A sense of deep-rooted history and a rich cultural heritage gives India a very broad liberal outlook towards the international order. One often refers to the teachings of Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism in understanding India's influence far and wide. Vivekananda's respect for human values, Tagore's emphasis on the importance of civilization against jingoistic nationalism, and Gandhian leadership through non-violent means has molded our perception of seeing the human race as one and the world as indivisible through Vasudevam Kutumbakam. Dialogues are channels of communication not only between leaderships and states, they are also ways of establishing links between societies, between communities and people. Moreover, they facilitate cooperation. Culture is a strong medium of communication between people. For long, India's rich cultural and spiritual legacy has attracted people across the world. The idea is to incorporate them now within the rubric of foreign policy. Thus, India has reinvigorated cultural diplomacy all across the world, especially under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, India's rather holistic approach towards foreign policy is based on five distinct pillars: Samman, which is dignity; Samvad, dialogue; Samriddhi, shared prosperity; Suraksha, regional and global security; and Sanskriti evam Sabhyata, culture and civilizational links. Of these, Sanskriti evam Sabhyata and Samvad are of particular relevance in understanding the dynamics between heritage and dialogues in promoting cooperative relationships between India and various countries across the continents today. Thus, intangible cultural components like performing arts, values, and rituals and practices have been showcased to communicate to other societies and other cultures for promoting foreign policy. The iconic institution of ICCR, who are organizing the event today, is responsible for carrying forward India's cultural diplomacy across nations, organizing cultural festivals, performances, and facilitating exchange programs. The ICCR sponsored chairs at various educational institutions across the world promote awareness about India's rich historical cultural heritage. As a South Asian state, India's relationship is based on history of shared cultural from pre-colonial times. This is notwithstanding the geopolitical complications of the region and the world as we see it today. India's policy of acts towards Eastern neighborhood is pillared on cultural affinities again, among other elements. The Mekong-Ganga cooperation is an excellent example of how foreign relations can be based on cultural linkages. Coming to Africa, India and Africa has shared common historical experiences of exploitation, subordination, and discrimination. Thus, India displayed a strong sentiment against apartheid once practiced in South Africa. Again, non-alignment movement bound both India and African countries into solidarity against new colonial exploitation and power politics. The foundation of India-Africa relations dates back deep into history. Indian diaspora continues to have a strong presence in Africa. Trade and cultural interactions have continued till date. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a more very important Indian, represented resistance of the migrant Indian community against exploitation and discrimination, crystallizing an Indian identity abroad. January 9th is celebrated as Pravasi Divas in India to commemorate Gandhi's return to India. Spread around roughly 46 countries in Africa, the diaspora today constitutes a very strong pillar of people to people contact and symbolizes the cultural fusion between India and the host African states. At the same time, Indian history also takes note of Africans coming to India. From pre-colonial times, Habsis were brought as slaves from Abyssinia by the Deccan Sultanate during the 16th century. This is just to tell the linkages that we had. The renowned Moroccan scholar Ibn Battuta speaks of the military skills of those people as brave naval fighters and protectors. One also knows of the famous military leader Malik Amber. This is very interesting, who's established Aurangabad in Maharashtra and is well known for its outstanding military and administrative acumen. While also knows the popular history of the relationship between Razia Sultan, the first female ruler of the Mamluk dynasty, and her Abyssinian Siddhi protector, Jamaluddin Yaqut, which is still subjected to fantastic interpretations, and we have movies about them. The point that I'm trying to make in here, ladies and gentlemen, in order to understand the relationship between India and Africa and move to a stronger African bonding, one must start from history. Coming to more contemporary times, a number of Africans stay in India as students and scholars, studying at various academic institutions and as trainees in the professional program. This is, of course, the result of the cooperation between India and Africa in the field of education and capacity building. They constitute the channel of cross-cultural infusion between India and African countries. There is a huge scope, ladies and gentlemen, to encourage this diasporic constituency in promoting cross-cultural interactions. Indian arts, films, crafts, and literature have reached large parts of the African continent. Literary works like Naipaul's A Bend in the River is a kind of work that gives an idea of Indian experience in Africa. Indian performances, particularly the much advertised cultural festival of Peace of India and Africa, which happened quite often, has been taken very positively. Indian films have been screened in African film festivals. Specifically in 2014, if I can remember, a number of Indian movies were screened at the International Film Festival of Africa. Of recent, in 2021, a regional Indian film from my province called Lokitele was screened at the South African International Film Festival. Again, recently, the Indian origin South African filmmaker Anand Singh won the Oscar for the documentary on Gandhi titled Ahimsa, Gandhi, the Power of the Powerless. It was directed by eminent Indian director Ramesh Sharma. This is an excellent example of the kind of cultural collaboration that is possible. Gandhi is and will be always a common point of shared legacies between India and Africa, particularly South Africa. Similarly, Indians cordially appreciate African festivals like those that showcase African culture in India. For example, the tribute to the Mother Continent Festival that was held in New Delhi in 2019. Notwithstanding the cultural bond, there are recent unfortunate stray incidents of intolerance against migrant peoples on both sides that blunt the efforts of the bridges that are being built. The point that I'm trying to make, it takes a lot of effort building bridges, but any unfortunate events like an ethnic riot or a hate crime destroy the goodwill that is being generated through time. It is here that culture will work as a cementing force, filling social fissures and help looking ahead, forgetting the tragic incidents. Heritage, ladies and gentlemen, is that what we inherit. It is deeply embedded in our tradition. In India, we call this parampara. It is for the young and future generation, which includes the diaspora on both sides, of course, to appreciate this parampara as culture will evolve over time and will add to the repository of traditions. Moreover, while people are divided spatially, territorially, culture travels beyond time and space in the form of heritage. It provides platforms for dialogues between societies and communities. Closer cultural affiliations create scope for stronger, sustainable cooperation between India and Africa in the forms of capacity building, infrastructural support, international cooperation and development, educational cooperation, and many the like. I believe strongly cultural contacts will strengthen this cooperation, and an event like this is another stepping stone in that direction. I congratulate the ICCR Durban for organizing this Hirasat Parva Heritage Festival and giving me the opportunities to share my views, albeit modest and very, very limited. I wish this event a very grand success and all the best. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ishani Naskar ji, for your remarks. And thank you, ma'am, so much for taking time off your busy schedule and joining us live from India today. Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we will be showcasing a cultural performance on the heritage of South Africa.
வந்து தங்கங்கள் எல்லாம் ஓர் வழி நின்றே நேர் வழி சென்றார் நாளை நமது காலங்கள் என்னும் சோலைகள் மலர்ந்து காய்கனியாகும் நமக்கென வளர்ந்த நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே. பாசம் என்னும் நூல் வழி வந்து பாசமலர் கூட்டம் ஆடும் அழகில் அமைவது தானே வாழ்க்கை பூந்தோட்டம். பாசம் என்னும் நூல் வழி வந்து பாசம் மலர் கூட்டம் ஆடும் அழகில் அமைவது தானே வாழ்க்கை பூந்தோட்டம். மூன்று தமிழும் ஓரிலும் நின்று பாட வேண்டும் காவிய சிந்து. மூன்று தமிழும் ஓரிலும் நின்று பாட வேண்டும் காவிய சிந்து. அந்த நாள் நினைவுகள் இந்த நாளும் மாறாத அந்த நாள் நினைவுகள் இந்த நாளும் மாறாத நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே. வீடு என்னும் கோயில் வைத்து வெள்ளி தீபங்களே நல்ல குடும்பம் ஒளிமயமாக வெளிச்சம் தாருங்களே. வீடு என்னும் கோயில் வைத்து வெள்ளி தீபங்களே நல்ல குடும்பம் ஒளிமயமாக வெளிச்சம் தாருங்களே. நாடும் வீடும் உங்களை நம்பி நீங்கள் தானே அண்ணன் தம்பி. நாடும் வீடும் உங்களை நம்பி நீங்கள் தானே அண்ணன் தம்பி. எதையுமே தாங்கிடும் இதயம் என்று மாறாது எதையுமே தாங்கிடும் இதயம் என்று மாறாது நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே. தாய் வழி வந்து தங்கங்கள் எல்லாம் ஓர் வழி நின்று நேர் வழி சென்றால் நாளை நமதே. காலங்கள் என்னும் சோலைகள் மலர்ந்து காய்கனியாக நமக்கென வளர்ந்த நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே நாளை நமதே.
I hope you enjoyed that performance as much as we did. Our next guest speaker is Mr. Samu Pacho, a choral musician and community activist. He is also the founder of Pacho Arts Academy in South Africa. Namaste, Sawubona, and welcome, Mr. Samu Pacho, for your remarks today on the second day of the Heritage Festival.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for welcoming me. I've been listening and getting a lot of information on how culture is practiced in India. Now, I have an understanding of the richness of the culture of India, of which has got the deep roots in terms of the upbringing of the people of India, in terms of collaborating, in terms of practicing love. That is what I've got on the other speakers, which were actually delivering their comments. Starting on the dialogue issue, from where I am in the creative space, in the creative art, which is mostly it's music in my case, choral music, we do a lot of dialogue through music, through song. How do we do that? The composers of the music, they have an understanding of the topics which maybe they need to discuss on that particular time. So they then bring all those social issues into paper, they bring it into music, then we create a dialogue through that music, whereby you will find a choir, a big choir, which is divided into two. You have got the first chorus, we've got the second chorus. Now, once you find a choir that has got two choruses, but is the same choir, you need to know there is a dialogue happening, because the first choir will actually be dialoguing with the second choir, but they belong in the same choir. So that is how we do some of the dialogue in the creative art, more especially the music of choral music, which has got a lot of actually musicians. So it makes things easier now for an information to pass to one another, because we're speaking about a group maybe of 120 people in one choir. So now you can imagine if we are having a festival of 20 choirs or 30 choirs, how many people you are having there, and they are passing different messages, because in festivals we're gonna be having a music by that composer and another music by that composer and another music by that composer. Now you are mixing in different kinds of music, you are mixing in different kinds of messages which you are passing to the entire community now. So we do a dialogue in a very interesting way, whereby people will listen and say, okay, this is actually what we need to do or what we don't need to do. Now, coming to heritage and culture, to us in South Africa, heritage and culture is more about love. It's more about collaboration. Now, when I say love, what do I mean? Love, that's where we show each other the love that we have. Remember, we are in one country, but we are different tribes in one country, a lot of different tribes with different cultures. Now, in terms of heritage, that is when now each and every tribe will come and showcase their own culture in song, cultural and heritage. If we engage in cultural and heritage as choral music industry, we do cultural music as choirs. and even those music, that kind of music, the message that is in that kind of music, it preaches love, it preaches unity, it preaches a collaboration, you know. So as a country, to have one common goal, but while we are from different tribes. So in terms of heritage and culture, that's how we usually celebrate in the creative space. So now, how does that maybe mix the dialogue, the heritage, the cultural, the music, now, and other cultures? I'll make an example because I'm now getting more interested on the Indian cultural space. I'm now actually starting to say, okay, we need a lot of collaboration with India from now, because these meetings should actually break some boundaries in terms of the creative art. So we need now to start doing a lot of collaboration between South Africa and India. We collaborate in music. Indians have got the nicest music. I like the music of India, because though most of the time to me it sounds like a very emotional music, of which in technical language, most of emotional music, they bring a very strong message. So what I'm trying to say is mixing different cultures, the South African cultures, the Indian cultures, then we bring it together in the creative art. Then we can see the beauty, we can see a lot of spark, we can see a lot of unity that will be created by such festivals, which can actually bring a lot of development for both countries. Yeah, I will sum up my speech by saying it's a very good platform which I got. I'm very thankful to the organizers, and also I'm putting this challenge on the table to say, let us do a collaboration on music and the creative art at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samu Pacho, for those very interesting remarks on the theme being heritage of dialogue and cooperation on the second day of Heritage Festival. Indeed, our next guest speaker joining us live from India is Mr. Janardan Ghosh, a teaching and research associate at the Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda University in Belur, India. Namaskar, sir. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule and rendering your remarks today.
Thank you, Srishti, for this wonderful introduction. I would like to thank Director ICCR Durban for inviting me in this celebration of Heritage of Dialogues. And I would also like to thank Mr. Arindam Mukherjee to get me connected, along with the kind of interest that you have kindly shown towards me by getting connected. Now, with this word connected itself, I would like to start today's discussion. This is what I think we all desire to do, the human desire to connect with the other. This has been a kind of a primordial desire from the time of the Neolithic age till date. We have tried to connect and reach geographies, reach people's heart, and touch them. With this kind of an intention, human beings have started to express themselves. And from there, I think we have evolved into a very contemporary term that is dialogue or samvad. So what I am going to look at is more of the etymology of this word samvad and how it is placed in our ancient culture and how it has evolved and what is that new awareness that is required now. I would start with a small prayer, and this prayer is to one wonderful person who have reached to different hearts and have touched different hearts through his samvad. He is Thakur Sri Ramakrishna. Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarva dharma sarupane avatar varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namah. As I was saying, this prayer is also an attempt to penetrate the spaces, the individual spaces that we all exist in. So if, as I was saying, that from the time of the cave dwellers, when people had started to express themselves through wall paintings, different sounds, they thought of sharing not only their spaces that was there in the cave, or the food that they hunted, or the kind of the different kinds of things that they had gathered, but also certain things that happened here in their mind, or something that was happening in their heart. So they wanted to share that too. I think from there emerged language, a way to kind of share. And that had traveled all the way to date in 2021, where we are inundated with such connections through WhatsApp, Facebook, internet, Twitter, and different kind of diplomatic discussions that we have. So all these kind of things, and it is full of it. But when we look at our past, the ancient heritage of Samvad, we see this wonderful word samavad itself is so interesting. Why is it so? Now, vad, the meaning of this word vad is a positive debate, a debate which emerges into positive thinking, into positive feeling, into creative kind of an end product. And this vad is related to sama, which means a kind of concurrence, a kind of concord, a kind of balance. So a debate which would emerge into balance is what samavad is actually meant in our ancient scriptures. It was found in Yajurveda, this particular word samavad. And samavad in Sanskrit has many other meanings like discussion, debate, conversation, delivering certain things. And if you see that many other Indian languages which emerged out of Sanskrit also have this word samvad, and they also almost mean the same thing. But the interesting thing is it is just not a simple dialogue. It is just not an exchange of heart, or it is not an exchange, intellectual exchange of things that is happening only in your mind, but it is a process through which you create symmetry in thought. If you look at our prayers, like the first prayer that a student would actually begin with, like Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karvavai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavai. The teacher and the student, they are asking for protection. They are asking for their pushti, their energy, their power from the Lord. And they are asking so that they can kind of argue, so that they can kind of debate, so that they can intervene into different knowledge pockets. But at the end, they don't want any dvesha. They want a kind of consensus. This is what it should relate to. All arguments, all debates, all kinds of conversation must result into a consensus of thought, where we might have different ideas, but we agree, we accept it. But that is the problem now, that we keep on arguing, but we can't come to a consensus. So this kind of hostility in dialogues is something which is also mentioned in Charaka, in the where Charaka Samhita, where there is a very interesting chapter on debating, and they are saying this is jalpa, this is bad debate. But there is a good debate also, that is vada, which I said, which is a part of samvada. So ancient history has always, ancient Indian heritage of dialogue has always been to kind of tending towards this positive argument resulting into creativity, resulting into productivity. Now let us look at most of our scriptures. They are all full of samvadas. It is Arjuna who has samvad with Krishna in Gita. It is Maitreyi who has samvada with Yajnavalkya. It is Nachiketa in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we find it. In Kathopanishad, we have Nachiketa having samvad with the Lord of Death, Yama. So look at the extent of dialogues that ancient India had really thought of, that you can also have dialogue with death. You can have dialogue with living people, you can have dialogue with your neighbor, but definitely you can also have dialogue with the Lord of Death. And that emerges into a great realization. We know that in Kathopanishad it is there. So most of our scriptures actually have these elementary quality of samavad. And later on, we see that during Chanakya, period of Chanakya, when he comes up with Arthashastra, he's talking about how important is dialogue, how dialogue can actually emerge into a lot of treaties, lot of peaceful agreements, lot of resolutions can emerge out of dialogues. And he is also laying down different rules in his Arthashastra about how to begin a dialogue. So when he is talking about these messengers, these ambassadors who travel to different countries, there they are being taught, trained about how to kind of initiate a dialogue, how to carry messages. So this is a very, very rich culture. If we really look into our history of debating and history of dialogue and cooperation, it would definitely kind of give us a lot of ideas how to solve modern contemporary problems. I would rather go deeper into it. Like this, what do we use to kind of create a samvad? Basically, the Indian culture is more auditory. We love to kind of utter words. We talk a lot. We love talking. We love gossiping. We love kind of discussing. So these are so auditory. This auditory culture is because of the importance of word in our culture. Shabda. Shabda is also known as Brahma. So Shabda is very powerful. When you are arguing and you are looking for proofs, the most important proof that is being provided in kind of ancient debates are Shabda. Shabda becomes the pramana. Shabda pramana is the most important pramana during our ancient debates. We know Shankaracharya debating with Mandana Mishra, a very popular tale, you must be knowing that how they are debating on different kind of philosophical issues. The pramana is Shabda, is something that we need to kind of give more importance to it. What is happening in regular conversation, in regular dialogue, we are neglecting it. We are forgetting that. We are not giving importance to that. And so it is not emerging into something very productive. Now, if you look at this, the kind of utterance of the word, you will see that Shabda has 4 layers through which it passes. the Shabda in its unmanifested form, which is known as para, is in a very divine state. It is not manifested. It has still not taken its shape. And that is known as para. And that is the state of para. And then it moves into a state where you are visualizing the Shabda, where you feel the vibration of the word. And you can feel that vibration near your navel. And that is Pashyanti. You are feeling that Shabda that you are going to utter then. But it is a very kind of deep vibration. It goes up along with your prana to your heart. And then you come to a state which is Madhyama. And that is where your prana and your entire intellect is actually shaping that word. You are mentally constructing that word. And then comes this utterance, the performed word, the word that is being performed, and that is Vaikhari. So what is from para to Vaikhari? You are traveling through all these layers to utter the word, and that word, you can understand how important it would be, how deep, how profound it would be. And that is why Shabda can become Pramana. So in all the discussions, Shabda has such a kind of great importance. So Samvada, which actually constitutes of large number of Shabdas, how thoughtfully are you using those Shabdas in your Samvada? That is what we need to think about. And the last thing that I would like to talk about this issue of Samvada, these are all cursory ideas that I'm trying to touch and go, that how rich our culture had been to create a Samvada. What were the kind of, and with this I can relate even to Natya Shastra also. In Natya Shastra, the 4 kinds of Abhinaya is there, and one is Vachika Abhinaya, where you are using Samvada, where you're using dialogues. And that is also being very, very minutely, scientifically, that is being structured, so that when you utter a dialogue, it is just not an utterance. It carries a lot of weight. It carries a lot of value. It carries a lot of power, a lot of energy. And that is why our mantras are so very powerful. So if with this kind of thought, I go and meet a person from other nation, and I start my Samavada, I think that emerges into something that is very constructive. And which I was talking about, the last part is, which we do, which we rarely do, which is a part of Samvad, is we talk a lot, but we don't listen. We don't hear. And listening is Shruti. And Shruti is the most important art which we have developed from time immemorial. If you see most of our Vedas, our Upanishads, Brahmanas, Aranyakyas, all these are Shrutis. They are darshanas by different rishis. They have seen it and they have created the poetry, and people from generation to generation, they are listening. And through listening, they are actually absorbing that thing. And this listening is just not an act of your ear. It is a very immersive act. You get absorbed in it. You get kind of drowned in it. It is a holistic way of listening. And then you understand. So if you ever want to kind of understand our Indian scriptures, you should not. It is kind of a very strong remark from one of the scholars of Sanskrit, Gauri Dharmapala, who says that you should not have hypotheses. You should not have different kinds of, structures like Derridian deconstruction, or kind of Foucault's idea of looking into things. If you put them into these structures, you already dissect them, you already segregate them, and you don't get the reality of the total experience of those words. You miss it. So what is to be done? The process should be, you should be open. You should be like, as it is said, to be there like a patra, like an open pot. Like an open pot, you should be there and let things come in. So if diplomats with all their ideas come and have such a conversation where they immerse into that conversation, you can think that what kind of a Samvada it would be and what kind of cooperation would emerge out of it. Our history is full of cooperation. Ramachandra is he is having the cooperation of Sugriva, he is having the cooperation of, so if you look at the different narratives that we have in our culture, everywhere you will find that cooperation is there due to this kind of positive samvada. So listening is another very important part. Acharya Dandi says that this ignorant world is all very dark, and it is words that illumine it, that kind of lights it, and you are able to experience the world because of the words. The words allow you to experience the world. So Samvada is something that is very essential, that we know, and we know it leads to cooperation. But what kind of Samvada? What is that we demand? What should be the structure? What should be the essential, kind of process that one should follow to initiate such Samvada is something that we need to discuss more in details. With a short, I think I've spoken a lot, but thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing that deep insight and knowledge with us on the second day of Heritage Festival. Next, we will be showcasing a cultural performance on the heritage of India.
अच्छा
Thank you so much for tuning in with us, and I hope you enjoyed that cultural performance. We have now come to the close of day 2 of Heritage Festival, with the theme being Heritage of Dialogue and Cooperation. Please do stay tuned to SVCC social media pages for the upcoming events of the Heritage Festival. I would like to now invite Mr. Sipiwe Mchunu from the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban to render this evening's vote of thanks.
Namaskar. Greetings to all of you. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, I am honored today to deliver a vote of thanks on today's program, Heritage Festival, Umcimbi Wamagugu Day 2, under the theme Heritage of Dialogue and Cooperation, meaning igugu lokubonisana nokubambisana. Allow me to thank the following online guests who took part on today's program. Mr. Tokhazani Mbuyisa, a TV and radio personality from South Africa, for his wonderful remarks on the need of dialogue and cooperation, isidingo sokubonisana nokubambisana. Indeed, Mr. Tokhazani, I fully agree with you that there is a big need to all of us as human beings to sit down when there are issues and help one another and do cooperation in terms of helping those who need help. So kunesidingo sokuthi sonke sihlale phansi sikhulumisane and sibambisane ngezinkinga esinazo. So Tokhazani mfowethu, siyabonga kakhulu baba, ukhulume kahle kakhulu. Now allow me to thank Dr. Ishani Naskar, a professor at the Department of International Relations, Jadavapur University, Kolkata in India. She also gave us a sterling remarks on this theme of dialogue and cooperation, ukubonisana nokubambisana. She went on and mentioned the name of a famous African who resided in India in 1500th century, Mr. Malik Amba. So it means that the cooperation and the dialogue between India and Africa, it took place many years ago. So, ma'am, thank you for reminding us of the man called Malik Amba. Thirdly, allow me to thank Mr. Samu Pacho, a choral musician and a community activist from South Africa, who also gave his sterling remarks on the need of dialogue and cooperation on today's program, Heritage of Dialogue and Cooperation, igugu lokubonisana nokubambisana. It is in our blood. As we Africans, we also believe, like what Dr. Ishani Naskar said, that Indians believe in dialogue and cooperation. We also in Africa, we also believe in dialogue, because the more we sit and discuss issues, we will come to the common ground and agree to disagree. So thank you, Baba Samu Pacho, for reminding us the need, ubonisana nokubambisana, the need of dialogue and cooperation. Lastly, allow me to thank Mr. Janardan Ghosh, who is a teaching research associate in Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda University, Belarus, in India. Sir, you mentioned so many things, the Upanishads, the Vedas. You know, we really appreciate whatever you said this evening, and you reminded us, you know, the need of cooperation and believing in dialogue. So to you, sir, Danyavat, thank you very much for reminding us. To all the groups that performed, these cultural groups that performed this evening, we like to say Danyavat for performing in this event this evening. Sibonga kakhulu ngokuthi ni performe namhlanje ntambama, and the performance yenu ibiyinhle kakhulu. We like to thank you very much for taking part on today's program. The performances were very wonderful, and we really enjoyed. So to all of you, we like to say Danyavat, Siyabonga, thank you for taking part on today's program. To Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Srishti Harirayan, Mr. Kiran Singh, thank you very much for taking part on today's program. To all our online participants who decided to be with us this evening, we'd like to say, Danyavat, thank you. Please follow us on Facebook page ICCR in Durban for all updates about the cultural activities that are organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Durban. Once again, to Tokhazani ji, Mbuyisa ji, thank you. Siyabonga kakhulu Puti. To Dr. Ishani Naskar ji, thank you very much, ma'am. To Mr. Samu Pacho ji, Siyabonga kakhulu Puti. And lastly, Mr. Janardan Ghosh, Danyavat for taking part this evening. To all of you, have a wonderful evening. Namaskar.